Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone. And if this is your first time on my channel, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. So we have this question for simultaneous equations or systems of equation, whatever you would like to call it. And we're asked to solve for the value of x and for the value of y. So the first thing you notice is this. You have the first equation, x minus y equals -2, where the coefficient of x in the first equation is 1, and the coefficient of y in the first equation is -1. So basically, how are you going to approach solving this question? Because of the simplicity of the first equation, we can do the substitution method or we can do the elimination method. So this comes down to preference. But I know many students in a question like this where the coefficient of x and coefficient of y is a very, very small value, the unit of 1 or the value of 1 or -1 if you're thinking about y. So what students will do is just basically pick the substitution method. But in this video, I'm going to be teaching you both the elimination and substitution method. So the first one we're going to work on is going to be the elimination method. And in the process of elimination, we're trying to get both, both values of x and y by, first of all, making one variable. When added together, when adding the both equations together, we're going to try to get one variable to equal 0 so we can solve for the second variable, which we're going to see now in just a second. So you have x minus y equals -2, and then you have 1/3 5x plus 3y equals 4. So you're going to, first of all, look at it. What variable would you like to make to become 0? Which variable would you like to eliminate? Well, I'm going to choose x to eliminate, and because I want to choose x, I'm trying to make sure that when I add the top and the bottom equations, I'm going to get the value of x to be 0. So I'm going to multiply the denominator by +3, and I'm going to multiply the numerator, right, by -5. Now, if you're not very good in math, you don't have to do this multiplication at the exact same speed. You can just work with the second one, break it down or simplify it, and then figure out what you're supposed to multiply by the first equation so you can get the correct answer. So when I go ahead and I do this, I'm going to have the equation to now become -5x, +5y. So -5x, +5y equals +10. And then 3 times 1/3, open bracket, 5x plus 3y, that's going to just give you 5x plus 3y equals to 12. So when you add them up, -5x plus 5x is 0, and then 5y plus 3y is 8y equals to 10 plus 12, that's simply 22. So you have 8y equals to 22, y equals to 22 divided by 8. So you have y equals 2 here 4, 2 here 11, so y equals 11 divided by 4. So y equals 11 divided by 4. That's basically the answer to the question so far. So the next one you have to do is for you to solve the value of x. So what is x? We already found what the value of y is. Well, I am going to pick the simpler of the two equations, because the great thing about systems of equation is that as we're eliminating one variable, or as we're solving for one variable, we're going to decrease the number of systems of equations by 1. So for example, if I gave you 3 equations and 3 variables, when we first of all solve for one variable, we end up with 2 equations and 2 variables. In this case, we had 2 equations. Equation first one here, equation 1, and then you had equation 2. And then when we solved for one value, or we eliminated one value, we ended up with 1 equation and 1 value left to solve for. And we solve for y, so we're going to solve for x. But the good thing now, because we know the value of y, we can just simply solve for x. So the value of y, we know that to be 11 over 4. So we can use x minus y equals -2, the simpler of the two equations. So we have x equals -2 plus y. So x equals -2 plus 11 over 4. And when you go ahead and do 11 over 4, we're going to just add it up like you would add fractions. So -2, same thing as -2 over 1. So you have x equals, we're going to do 1 here and -2 and positive 11 divided by 4. So we have 4 in the denominator. We're going to try to do common denominator. So multiplied by 4 here, multiplied by 4 here. So we're going to have x equals -8 divided by 4 plus 11 divided by 4. Since we now have common denominators, we can just put one common one and just work with the numerators. -8 plus 11 is the same thing as 3. Hence, you have x equals 3 divided by 4. And this is basically the answer to the question. So that's that. Now, we're going to do the second one I had promised, which is the substitution method. So for the substitution method, especially for this question, like I had explained previously, we like the coefficient of at least one of the variables to be 1. And in this case, we have the value for x to be 1. And the great thing is we also have the value of y to be -1. So if you just put it in the opposite direction of the equals to sign, you can decide to use you can decide to use either x or y. So I'm just going to rewrite the question since we're going to be doing the substitution method to basically solve it. So you have x minus y. And please, in case I'm teaching you in a way that you don't understand, I would appreciate it if you put it in the comment section so that I can properly explain it down in the comment section, or I can use it to improve the quality of the videos that you guys have. So you have x minus y equals -2 and 1 over 3, open bracket, 5x plus 3y equals 4. So, well, for substitution method, we already have an equation up top that we can use to substitute, which is the first equation, because that's like the simpler of the two equations with a coefficient of 1. So x minus y equals -2. So that's x equals -2 plus y. So that's what we have. So now we're just going to substitute it into the second equation. I'm going to do that. So that will be 1 over 3, 5x plus 3y equals 4. So that will become 1 over 3, 5, open bracket, minus 2 plus y, close bracket, plus 3y equals 4. So that will be 1 over 3. Okay. When you expand this, right, you have 5 in front and you're expanding it. So 5 times -2, that's -10. 5 times y will be positive 5y, right? Plus 3y equals 4. So that's that. And then I would write this. So 1 over 3, open bracket, -10 plus 5y plus 3y. So that's -10 plus 5y plus 3y is 8y equals 4. So that's basically it. So that would be, let's do a cross multiplication. So you have -10 plus 8y equals, when you do a cross multiplication, we're going to have 4 times 3. So 4 times 3. So that would be -10 plus 8y equals 12. And that would be 8y equals 12 plus 10. So 8y equals 22. And y equals 22 divided by 8, similar to what we did. So 2 in 8 is 4. 2 in 22 is 11. So y equals 11 over 4. And that is the answer to the y for this question. Now we have the value of y. So we go from 2 equations to 1 equation, from 2 variable to 1 variable. We just still have our unknown x. So you have x minus y equals -2. So what you end up with is we have the value of y to be 11 over 4. So you have x equals -2 plus y. So x equals -2 plus 11 over 4. We're going to do the exact same thing. So you have negative 2 is the same thing as negative 2 divided by 1 when you want to work with fractions. So that will be negative 2 divided by 1 plus 11 divided by 4. We're trying to get common denominator, so it's easy for us to work with fractions. So multiplied by 4 here, multiplied by 4 here, and we have x equals negative 8 divided by 4 plus 11 divided by 4. So that would be x equals to common denominator, so 4, that'll be negative 8 plus 11, so that is 3 over 4. So x equals 3 over 4, and then we have 3 over 4 and we have 11 over 4, and that is basically the answer to the question. And yeah, that is basically it. You guys can see that I did the substitution method and the elimination method. And elimination method, I prefer it usually because you just gotta think about making one variable 0, so making it like taking it out of the equation entirely and then solving for the other one and then substituting, because sometimes people aren't, if you don't have really good math skills, substitution could cause you to mess up. You could make a mistake much more easier. So, but I would advise you to develop both methods of solving simultaneous equations or systems of equation. You need to develop both of them. They are both really powerful tools. The great thing is elimination can be used at any point in time. Substitution is advised to be used when the coefficient of one of the variable is 1 for easy substitution. I wish you guys all the very best. Make sure you to keep watching the daily SAT math prep videos, and make sure you look at the playlist in case there's a particular topic that you're interested in and you haven't seen. If you look at the playlist on my channel, you'll see the SAT math prep series, and that is just day-to-day videos that I've been posting for the last couple of weeks, and inshallah I will keep posting by God's grace in the future. So you guys should take good care of yourself and be patient if you're struggling, because it takes time to succeed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.